McKay Allen. I'm the Inbound Marketing Manager at Log My Calls, and we're really excited you've joined us today. So thanks for taking the time out of your afternoon. Let's do a few quick announcements, kind of give you the lay of the land, and then we want to turn it right over to Mike Williams, who is a network manager at RingPartner, and we can get started. First, question that a lot of people ask about these webinars is, who is Log My Calls, and why do you do these webinars? So Log My Calls is a call tracking and call analytics platform. We work with a lot of companies in the pay-per-call space. They use our tool for two things primarily. The first is they use our tool to determine how many phone calls a specific campaign or ad or promotion generates. And then secondarily, most people use it actually as a way to determine what happened on the call. So they actually mine data out of the call, our tool does, and it can determine how high quality the lead was, whether or not it set an appointment, whether or not it booked a deal or purchased something. And it does all this based on speech recognition technology and thousands of algorithms that we've built into the call. So it's really popular in pay-per-call because everyone knows immediately how high quality the lead was. We no longer have to rely on duration, that sort of thing. So we'll talk more about that during the webinar. I think Mike's going to get into that a little bit. And about our webinar series, why do we do webinars? We have hosted webinars for about 14 months now. And these webinars are about various marketing topics. So we have done probably about 100 webinars now in the last 14 months. You can see, for example, like next Wednesday, we have a webinar with the president of Email Networks. She's actually going to do a live email critique during the webinar. So if you want your email, your company's email critiqued, send it to that email address, and you will have your email critiqued live during the webinar. So she's going to talk about design, about click-through rate, about subject lines, everything about the email marketing. We're also going to have a webinar about hyperlocal SEO next week as well. So we've had guests like Tim Ash, we've had companies like Ballyhoo and Unbounce who joined us for webinars, and Yext. So it's a really robust webinar series. You can come to logmycalls.com/webinar, and you can see all of our past webinars as well as register for upcoming webinars. So we encourage you to do that, logmycalls.com/webinar. Our audience is, after all, marketers, and we figured what better way to talk to marketers than to provide really, really good marketing content. So we have some of the biggest experts in the marketing world as guests on our webinar series. We've had Jeremy Shoemaker and other people. So go to logmycalls.com/webinar. You can listen to past webinars without a form fill or registration of any sort. And then two quick house cleaning items of announcements, and then we'll turn it right over to Mike. First, the webinar is being recorded, so that recording will be emailed to you tomorrow morning. So we encourage you to share that recording within your organization, share it on social media, and talk about it online as a way to improve the quality of the webinars. The more people we have come to these webinars, the better guests we can get. And then second, we encourage you to ask questions during this webinar. So type your questions in to GoToWebinar there. You can see the question area. Just type those in, and as we go through, and then at the end, I will read those questions to Mike, and he can address those individually. Question and answer period is always one of the highlights of our webinar. So we encourage you to ask questions and to consider what Mike's talking about and ask him questions about his subject. So with that, we want to introduce Mike, who is the network manager at RingPartner. RingPartner, as you probably know, is a pay-per-call performance marketing network. Their goal essentially is to connect advertisers to distribution partners to generate really high-quality leads and calls from potential customers. They're headquartered in British Columbia, founded in 2012. So they're new, but they're growing quickly. And Mike's been great to work with to set up this webinar. We appreciate him. They really are the pay-per-call marketing experts. And so we're excited to work with him down the road, and then also we're excited for his presentation today. So with that, Mike, thanks for joining us, sir. I will give you control of the screen and give you the floor. And if we have questions or anything, I may hop in occasionally. So, Mike, thanks for joining us, and go ahead, sir.
All right. Thanks, McKay, and thanks to Log My Calls for having me today. And whoops, just got ahead of myself here. So I just wanted to thank everyone and welcome you to 10 Steps to Success with pay-per-call marketing. As McKay said, my name is Mike Williams and I am the Network Manager here at RingPartner, and we are a pay-per-call focused performance marketing network, and we work with distribution partners and advertisers to drive calls to call centers. Here at RingPartner, I oversee, with the help of our team, all of the operations on the RingPartner network. So we look after advertisers and distribution partners, as well as I look after some of the internal marketing and our own distribution. And I also, of course, look over the compliance and quality control on our network. So with that, I think we're ready to get started, and I can start going through the 10 steps of success with pay-per-call marketing. So just a little bit about RingPartner. As McKay said, we are founded in beautiful Victoria, BC, in Canada. So we are a Canadian company, and we did start back in January of last year. So we are fairly new, but we are founded by experienced marketers in the performance marketing space, myself and Ryan Gerhardt, as well as Todd Dunlop, all with significant experience in affiliate marketing, search engine marketing, mobile marketing, and a number of other online marketing aspects. And here at RingPartner, we're 100% focused on pay-per-call and committed to making that work for our partners and our clients. So one thing that we do is focus on performance marketing. What that means is that there's no upfront cost to work with RingPartner, and we truly only make money when our partners make money. So the performance and motivations are aligned for us to deliver high quality and high quantity calls to our partners. So you're probably wondering why pay-per-call and why now. So pay-per-call has been around for a long time. I can remember as far back as 2002, 2003, people talking about pay-per-call. But it's now become viable, and back then users were required to basically call from a phone number on a desktop landing page, and that would require them to pick up a phone and make that connection. And so one of the things that's driving pay-per-call is that mobile smartphone growth. And I'm sure that a number of us have already been inundated with stats about mobile growth. It's happening, it's definitely occurring. And what this is doing is actually closing the gap between connecting searchers or mobile users with actually connecting to a call center. So it's making click-to-call a real possibility. So users can tap on a phone, they can click on an ad, and directly connect to a call center, creating that live interaction between the caller and the advertiser, closing the gap and making it that much more of a viable source of traffic. So with the growth of smartphone usage, it's definitely increased click-to-call, but it's also increased mobile search. So users are searching from their phone despite having a PC nearby where they could potentially search as well, but they're searching from their phone, they're using their phone to search for products and services, and then they're directly connecting via a call to the advertiser. And the nice thing about these callers is that these search users are purchasers. They do transact, they fill out forms, they connect with the callers, and they're actually buying on their phone. And I've got some statistics on the fact that users from a mobile phone are making purchases, they're buying, they're transacting online, and they're connecting with advertisers via their phone. So here's one of those stats. 61% of mobile searches result in a call. And I think that 61% is quite a high percentage, especially when you consider that mobile searches aren't just happening for those that are wanting calls, but it's happening for all categories of ads. So the fact that 61% of those calls are turning into, 61% of those searches are turning into a phone call is definitely a good sign for pay-per-call and the future of pay-per-call. And this is another stat that it shouldn't be that surprising, but 10 to 15% of those phone calls are converting higher than regular online leads. And when you consider that you're directly connecting a live caller with a real person in real time at a call center, it really should convert higher. Lead forms take time to follow up, and a lead form may be just enough of a barrier to stop that transaction from happening. So when it's a click-to-call ad, it's easy enough for the user to just click and connect, and there's no real barriers. And then that call is happening in real time. That customer is directly connected to a sales agent at the call center. And it makes it easier, I think, for the advertiser to make that sale or deliver that quote, whatever it may be. And 64% of smartphone owners are using their mobile devices to shop online. And so I think what this shows is that people do shop online. I think back when AdWords came out and everybody was wondering if people actually clicked on those ads, and I'm sure we all know that they definitely do, and I think now people are wondering if people do shop online, and the stats show that they definitely do. So this is a good sign for pay-per-call because it shows that people are willing to take action, make purchases on their mobile phone, and I think it's even easier to directly connect to a call. So this is happening at home, at work, and in transit even by a mobile phone. So it's interesting to note that despite being at home where a PC is readily available, users are still shopping on their mobile phone despite having a PC or tablet device nearby. So, and I think this is a really good sign for pay-per-call. A big number like 70 billion inbound calls delivered from mobile search by 2016. I think we're currently at around 40 billion inbound calls from mobile search. So the growth potential is definitely huge, and there's definitely people calling via searches. So indicating that search is a big driver of call, and this is something that we see reiterated in our stats at RingPartner. We see search being a big driver of these phone calls. So and these inbound callers, they're looking to take action. They're looking for a specific service or product, and they're ready to connect with someone to make a sale or transact in some capacity. So they're somewhat pre-qualified users, and they've searched, and now they're ready to take action. So the fact that there's going to be 70 billion of these potential callers by 2016 is a good sign for pay-per-call growth. So before we get into some of the steps in order to be successful with pay-per-call, I wanted to talk about some of the benefits of buying calls. So I think one of the most obvious benefits would be that you're going to receive more inbound callers. And the nice thing about that is that these callers are going to be pre-qualified, by an IVR or, depending on the search that they used to find your ad. Another benefit of buying calls is that these are going to be TCPA compliant calls. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with a lot of the changes that occurred a couple months back regarding TCPA. And basically, they're requiring that you need to have a pre-existing relationship with a potential user or caller before you can text to them or call to them. And so because we're going to be delivering inbound calls, these are callers calling into your call center, so they are TCPA compliant. Also, the benefit of buying calls is that you're going to be generating live caller connections between the call center agent and the user that's making that call. And so this is happening in real time. You're really just matching up people's wants with the potential provider. So someone's searching for a product, let's connect them with the call center, and let's make that sale take place. Also with pay-per-call, we're generating targeted callers, and not only targeted in that they're looking for the specific product, but you're only going to receive callers in a specific region during the hours of your call center, and they're going to be somewhat pre-qualified before connecting to your call center. and you're only going to pay for qualified calls that last a certain duration. And so that's going to deliver more sales. So more calls in general is going to equal hopefully more sales. And if we can make that more efficient by only delivering qualified callers to your call center, it's going to make it that much more more efficient and cost effective. So step one to succeeding with pay-per-call marketing is to begin to determine the value of a single call. And so we like to ask our advertisers what they think that they can afford to pay and see if we can match that up with a potential distribution partner that can deliver a call based on that value. So what you need to do is a couple simple calculations to determine the value of a single call. So as an example, if you had 1 in 10 callers convert to a sale, and that one conversion equals $100 in revenue, we would divide that $100 in revenue by the 10 callers and determine that the value of one call is $10. And so you could potentially afford to pay $8 per call and still be profitable on that campaign. And like I said, we like to let our advertisers tell us what they think they can pay in order to see if it's a fit. We don't have set prices for set verticals or campaigns, but the market kind of sets that value. So if someone's paying $35 and you can only pay $8, then we're going to need to figure out a different way to send you traffic. So step two in creating a successful pay-per-call campaign is to start to filter and qualify these callers. And so you're going to want to use an IVR. And an IVR simply stands for an interactive voice response. And it's the recording that you first hear when you make a call to a potential call center. And it's basically the job of the IVR is to filter out and qualify that caller before connecting them to the call center. So many of our IVRs would say something like press 1 for sales or press 2 for customer service. And press 1 would send to the sales agent, whereas press 2 we would send them to either a different number, or in some cases we would end up hanging up on that call. And so an IVR can be quite complex. We can, before we even answer that call, we can detect if it's a repeat caller, are they calling from a landline, a mobile, and direct that call to different places based on where they're calling from or the behavior of the caller. Like I said, we can sort them between sales and service, or we can ask them a number of questions prior to connecting to the call center. And one of the other features we can do as well is we can send a text to either follow up or for a different offer for, say, a caller that's not qualified as a sales or a potential purchaser. And in some cases, like I said, we do end up ending that call because it's the best possible solution that we have. Unfortunately, we would like to try and monetize those, but in some cases we do need to just end the call. So if you're familiar with web traffic, you're definitely familiar with the landing page. And so I like to consider the IVR as the landing page. It's the first point of contact that the caller is going to receive, and it's a chance for you to not only qualify and filter callers, but it's a chance for you to kind of pre-sell / upsell them for your product. So you want to qualify these callers prior to connecting them to the call center. So in that first IVR, you want to ask the first couple questions that are most important to determine if this is a qualified caller or not, and prioritize them appropriately. And like I said, you can use this to not only qualify, but warm them up. You can have a little mini commercial within the IVR to get them excited about the product or service before you connect them to a sales agent. Or you can have a different IVR depending on the traffic source. If they're coming from, if they're coming from a certain traffic source that requires a different message, you can have that message there and send them onto the call center with relevant information. And one of the nice things about using an IVR is that we can integrate it into the key press conversion. So if a caller calls up and they press 1, that's going to be a valid lead, and that's going to be something that you're going to pay out for if they lasted a certain duration. But if they press 2 in their customer service or they're a previous customer, you're not going to want to pay for that, so we can filter that so you don't end up paying for that conversion. And that's just all part of only paying for qualified callers. So step 3 is to prepare your call center. You need to optimize the call center for the different type of traffic they're going to receive. So pay-per call traffic is going to perform a little differently than some of the other sources of traffic you've used in the past. Maybe you've only received print calls or radio calls, and if you're going to receive online pay-per call callers, they're going to perform a little bit differently. So you're going to want to reserve a potentially an agent or two within the call center to handle these calls and treat them differently, and be prepared to potentially get them off the line quickly. But you just want to be prepared to handle that call a little differently than other ones. So you need to train your team and make sure that they are aware that, if a call lasts over 2 minutes, you're going to be paying for that. So if they know in those first 2 minutes that this is an unqualified caller, they're going to want to get them off the line as soon as they can. And like I said, sources of calls are going to behave differently. So not only is pay-per-call going to be different than some of the other traffic that you've been using, but different sources within pay-per-call, whether it's email or search or mobile versus online, or if it's an offline traffic source or an in-call ad. These are all going to behave a little differently, and we can work with you to route those calls to the appropriate call center or agent within your call center. Step 4, and maybe it should be step 1. It's definitely very important. Is tracking and attribution. How are you going to track these callers, and how are you going to attribute them to the sources that they came from? Do you have an in-house solution, or will you be using a call tracking and analytics provider? So Google, if you're just using Google as a traffic source, Google uses duration tracking. I think that most other ad networks like JumpTap would use duration tracking. Here at RingPartner, we use duration tracking, and I think McKay will talk about that a little bit later, but it's definitely not perfect, but at this time, it's one of the most accurate indicators of a quality call is if the call lasts a certain duration, and most other ad networks are using duration as a tracking source. And tracking really is quite simple when you break it down. It's using forwarding numbers. So if you have a unique tracking phone number into your call center, you would hand that over to us. We would plug it into the system, and it would generate a number of forwarding numbers that are used for tracking based on the source. So it's quite simple when you really break it down. And there's a number of call tracking and analytics providers in the space. Here at RingPartner, we use Invoca, but we are also aware of CallPixel's Ring Router, and of course Log My Calls. And Log My Calls is one of the systems that we're looking at overlaying on our Invoca system in order to get a deeper understanding of our callers with some of the unique services that Log My Calls provides.
And can I hop in there, Mike, if I could, for 1 second?
For sure.
So yeah, I think you explained that awesome. We certainly aren't a what's the best way to put it? Our tool does not allow you to go in and bid, and it's not built for that. It's not necessarily built for that. Our play is if you're already using one of those tools that Mike just mentioned. If you specifically Invoca, they're kind of the giant in the market. If you're using those guys, formerly Ring Revenue, they just changed their name. Our message is, look, we're not trying to replace them necessarily, because they can do things with bidding and the whole way their system is built for the pay-per-call market. Ours is built to provide deeper analytics. So it's built to layer on top of a tool like that. So instead of just gathering duration data, you can actually get a lead score for a phone call. You can determine if there was a lead that was an opportunity that was missed. So the lead score was good, but maybe the lead wasn't handled appropriately. And you can get an alert or a CRM notification or whatever tool you're using to call that lead back or to put them back in your queue. Same thing with whether there was an appointment book or a sale made. So again, our message isn't to replace what you're using now for the pay-per-call, but it's actually to layer on top of it for a few bucks and get incredibly rich data out of the call itself. So that's kind of where we see us as a fit in your market, Mike. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that for the audience. So I think you explained it great.
Okay, great. Yeah, we've actually got a call with, I believe it's Steve over at Log My Calls sometime today or tomorrow to discuss how we can utilize that within our system over top of Invoca/RingPartner.
That's awesome. That's great.
So just continuing on, step 5 would be to take care of geo-targeting. Not only what regions can you work within, but also what regions can you accept calls from. A number of our partners are US-based, and a lot of the campaigns are geo-targeted to the state. But we can go as deep as zip, city, state, and we can create national campaigns. It really depends on what your business requirements are. Just a caveat with that is that geo-restrictions are going to drastically affect the volume and the amount of calls that you're going to receive. But with that, hopefully you're going to be ending up with quality callers that are qualified for your potential business or campaign. And one of the nice features that our system allows us to do as well is to utilize routing the calls to the nearest call center. So if you have call centers in LA and New York, for example, and someone calls near LA, we can route that to the closest call center. And that's just a kind of a neat feature that allows for different hours at different call centers depending on when the caller is calling. If it's 5 p.m. in LA and it's 8 p.m. in New York, you're going to want to send that to the LA call center to ensure that someone's there. And one of the really important parts of pay-per-call and being successful with it is determining the duration. And it's not overly difficult to choose the range that you're going to be working within, because we definitely recommend working within 1 to 3 minutes. So you need to determine what the value of a caller is that lasts 1 to 3 minutes. And the reason we recommend 1 to 3 minutes is that our distribution partners are looking for campaigns in that range. And we've noticed that anything sort of outside that 3 minutes up to 4 minutes, they're just not interested in. They're really looking for that 1 to 3 minutes. So if that means you have to lower your cost per acquisition a little bit, they're okay with that as long as it's 1 to 3 minutes. And we can work with you to figure out what works best. And so in that first 1 to 3 minutes, you're going to want to quickly qualify those callers and get them off the line if they're unqualified, because once you reach that duration mark that you've set, you're going to be paying out for that caller. So it's important to ask those questions up front, which determine the qualifications of the caller and if you want to continue that call. And another thing to consider is the connect duration versus regular duration. So with the connect duration, the clock on the timer starts when they actually connect to your call center. So if we have an IVR in front of that call, the timer doesn't start until they've completed their time in the IVR. So maybe we've asked them a couple qualification questions prior to sending them over to you, and then that 1 minute starts when it connects. And a regular duration would start as soon as the call starts, once the IVR gets going, and it starts the clock right away. So promotion methods, this is where you're going to want to determine what promotion methods you're going to allow or disallow, and that's going to depend on some of the restrictions around your industry or some of your internal promotion. If you're already doing a search campaign, are you going to allow competitors? Are you going to allow banner traffic? What type of creatives? So you need to determine what type of traffic you can allow. And we definitely recommend starting with search, online, mobile. Search is a big area. If you're going to ignore this category, you're less likely to get a high volume of calls. So definitely consider online, mobile, search, display Email and social media are secondary traffic sources, but they also work well as well. And you want to determine, with search, one of the issues that always comes up is branded keywords. Do you allow it? Do you disallow it? Are you reserving that for your own internal campaign? What type of creatives will you allow? Do you need those creatives to be approved? Are you going to supply creatives? Do you have restrictions around whether you can say free or you can't say this or some other promotion method that can't be used on the banner? We also have offline traffic. So radio, TV, print, could be flyers, could be in the newspaper, any number of traffic sources. Offline can work for pay-per-call as well. And one of the more interesting promotion methods is in-call ads. And these are people that are on hold or in a call already, and they can hear an ad and press a key to leave that hold line and directly connect to your call center. So it's an interesting source of traffic as well, and we've had some success around that promotion method. And call center, we can do warm transfers, cold drops. Really depends on what you allow, but quality and compliance is always important. But there's definitely big volume in call center traffic, and so we leave it up to the advertiser to determine if they would allow that. And what type of calls would they allow? Like I said, warm transfers versus a cold drop. Will you accept inbound or outbound calls? That sort of stuff. So there's a lot to consider around the promotion types. But as I said, starting with mobile search and display is a great place to get going. So once you've had your campaign running for a couple weeks, or you've received a decent amount of calls, you're going to want to review those calls, and the best way to do that is to record the calls. So right from the start, you should be recording the calls, and then you want to go in and actually listen to those calls, and you're going to gain some great insights into them, and you'll be able to see what's happening with the calls. So before you can record the calls, you should review the state laws in your area or in your industry to ensure that you can record the calls. And I believe it's pretty safe to record the calls in pretty much every state, but there are certain requirements on what you need to say. You might need to inform the caller that the call will be recorded. So you want to check up on that before you get started. But recording the calls and reviewing them is going to give you some really great insights into the campaign. It'll tell you what's wrong with the campaign, what's wrong with the traffic source, or what's really good, or you might gain some insights into an area that you didn't know was a potential opportunity. And so we found some really great things just by listening to some of the calls. And after we've listened to them and reviewed them, we adjust the campaign accordingly and make some small changes, and then we continue to run the campaign and scale it up, hopefully delivering higher volume, higher quality calls that are that much more relevant for the advertiser. So another important part of being successful is managing compliance and quality. So before you get started, you want to define what a good quality call or lead means to you, and you want to be sure to communicate that to the affiliate network that you're working with and make sure that they understand what your definition of a good call is. And all affiliate networks deal with compliance differently, and compliance should be an important part of their business. And anyone that claims to not have any compliance issues is not a network you want to work with. Everybody has to deal with it, and it's more about how they manage it rather than whether they've got any compliance issues to deal with. Are they following the advertiser's creative rules? Are they complying with negative keyword management, that sort of stuff, as well as if there's any other compliance issues, how do they manage that, and how do they take care of it, because it is there, unfortunately. And then it is possible, we definitely don't want to go down this road too many times, but you may need to return or get refunds on some of the calls. And so you want to define ahead of time, like I said, what that good quality call or lead sounds like. so that if you are getting calls that are unrelated, you can provide information to the advertiser, or sorry, to the affiliate network to get that sorted out. So at that point, you need to be prepared to provide any recordings and call disposition reports to the network in order to make a claim for a return or a refund. And step 10 is really just to get started. You want to determine the campaign criteria. What are the hours of the call center? What regions are you going to work within? What's the call duration, payout? What's your overall campaign budget? And then from there, it's pretty simple to get started. You would provide a unique phone number to the network. They plug that into their system, generating the forwarding numbers that are used for tracking from distribution partners, and you're pretty much ready to go. It's good to start with mobile search. I think I've said that several times, but it's a good place to start. You can start with mobile search and scale out from there. Maybe you want to move into display or try call center, but mobile search is going to give you the best chance for success out of the gate. And start slow and manage quality. There's a lot of potential calls that you can be receiving, but you want to start slow, manage the quality, scale it up when it's reaching a certain quality metric that you'd like it to meet. So you've got a good standard of quality calls coming in. And then the only step from there is really just to scale up. Work with your network and increase the traffic, and they will help you deliver a good amount of good quality calls. So that concludes the 10 steps to success with pay-per-call marketing. If you want to stay in touch with RingPartner, we're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. The username is just RingPartner, and we're pretty active on all social media networks. And you can definitely check out our blog at ringpartner.com/blog. And definitely check out our YouTube channel. We're looking to be increasing the amount of videos on YouTube as well. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can check out our website, ringpartner.com, or email us at contact@ringpartner.com. And since we're in the business of calls, we also have a phone number, which is 1-888-656-3726. And so at this time, I'd like to thank McKay Allen and Log My Calls for letting me join them today. And I look forward to answering your questions, and definitely reach out to us if you have any questions about pay-per-call or how to get started. We're happy to help.
Good stuff, Mike. That was great. I think, pay-per-call is a segment of the lead gen space that seems to be sort of getting out of obscurity, if you will, and moving into sort of mainstream, which I think is great, because the data that we pull indicate that, someone's far more likely to purchase if they make a phone call versus filling out a web form. So even responding very quickly, is on a web form is useful, but just getting the call to begin with is very effective. So we've got a few questions coming in, Mike, that I want you to address. So first, let's talk about the call generating side of things, the lead gen side. If I am an agency, or if I'm just an individual that wants to start to generate calls, can I do that through you guys? What's the process for that? And then some people, just sort of to follow up on that, are asking the question, so what is your relationship with Invoca? Are you guys, they're the platform through which the calls are completed, or how does that work?
So I'll just address the Invoca question first. So we are a pay-per-call affiliate network is probably the best way to define us. Several other traditional affiliate networks would use a tracking platform. They might use something like Cake or Linktrust. In our case, we use Invoca, and what Invoca does is allow us to generate those tracking phone numbers. So Invoca is a software system, basically, that manages all of the tracking and all of the calls. And we are an advertising-focused pay-per-call network. So we're in the ad business. Invoca is in the software as a service business, and we work together. They don't want to be an ad network, and we don't want to be a software service. So it's basically the tracking platform that we use.
Perfect. And then the second question, the first question about, so if an agency wants to start, maybe they're a quote-unquote traditional agency, but they maybe want to start driving phone calls, what's the process there? Is that in the cards? Is that something people can do?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely something that they can do with us. It really depends on volume. So we usually look for higher volume campaigns that can scale. But if you just want to try it out, I mean, a good place to start is with Google search, and you can try out the call extensions there and give that a shot. But if you want the big volume play, then you want to come work with us, and we can help drive a number of calls to you.
Good. So we've got a couple questions now coming in. One from Peter. He says, if I'm an advertiser with a high-paying offer currently on just a few networks and we're not getting as many calls as we would like to pay for, how would you recommend we increase our call volume?
I mean, I would need to know a little more details around the call, but there are definitely some markets that are smaller volume. So you may need to look for a niche within your traffic source that you can bring over to your vertical or your campaign. But one way is to diversify by adding it to several networks. Should increase your volume, but that of course makes for a little bit more management. So
perfect.
Hopefully that helps answer.
Yeah. What products or industries tend to work better for pay-per-call? Also, do you guys service B2B products, and how does that generally work in the B2B space?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. B2B has been showing up more and more as a viable way of promoting, being promoted through pay-per-call. So it is something that's viable. It's a little bit different because, obviously we're targeting businesses, so the approach is a little different, and we are typically, most of our campaigns on the network are consumer-based products and services. But anybody who's looking for calls could potentially do pay-per-call marketing, but it definitely, you're going to need to have a call center be able to accept thousands of calls potentially per day. So there are some barriers there, but I mean the best thing to do in a lot of these cases is email someone at RingPartner, and we can help you determine whether it's going to be a fit or not.
Perfect. And then just to clarify, in terms of do you have any automotive businesses using your service? So are any companies in the automotive space doing pay-per-call? How does it work in that industry specifically? It looks like we got a few automotive marketers on the line today.
Okay. Well, auto insurance is a big category. Definitely a good fit for pay-per-call. One that I would like to see is auto quotes. I haven't seen a number of campaigns in that category, but I think that could work well. We've seen automotive parts and auto warranty is definitely a viable product for pay-per-call. So definitely some if people are searching for it, we can likely make them call you up. And if you've got a call center, if that's how your business transacts is through a call center, then we can likely make it work.
Okay, great. Do you do any non-call center work? I know that's kind of a really small space in the pay-per-call market, but are pretty much all the calls driven to various call centers? Are they driven to any businesses directly? How's that? I'm not terribly familiar with that segment of the pay-per-call space.
Yeah, generally we work with advertisers that have call center traffic, or they have call centers that can accept the calls. Yep. But in some cases, depending on the campaign, we may route that to a couple different advertisers that can accept a call. But we need to ensure that there's a certain uptime that the call is, the person who's answering those calls is live. So if they're taking their lunch and it's at noon, somebody's going to need to be able to answer that call. So I guess, generally it's call center, but for unique cases, we could potentially work with that. One of the things that the Invoca system allows us to do is bundle calls, so we can create one campaign that routes to a number of advertisers. And in that case, you get fewer calls, but you could potentially handle the amount of call volume with a single caller, or one or two potential representatives at the company.
Cool. That's great. Well, good stuff. Last word from me, Mike, and then I'll give you a last word here. So the way Log My Calls, just to be clear, fits into this mix is our predominant audience is the end advertiser right now. So we work with a lot of enterprises. We work with a lot of sort of quote-unquote traditional agencies that do SEO and PPC and that sort of thing through standard methods. So they're the predominant users of Log My Calls. But we're starting to make inroads into the pay-per-call space in just the way Mike described a moment ago, where anybody at any stage, whether the lead buyer, whether the lead generator, or the network, in Mike's case, is layering Log My Calls on top of in most cases, Invoca as a way to gather more rich data out of the calls. And so if you're saying, look, we've had issues with payouts, we've had issues in those other areas, consider layering us on top of what you're doing right now, because it adds a significant amount of value to the calls, and then it also allows you to be extremely accurate. Because, for example, we were talking with a lead buyer in the insurance space, and we've had these conversations in the paid EDU space as well, where they will say, we would pay tons of money for a call that was a lead score over 90, even if the duration wasn't as long as other calls. So, long story short, there's a lot of rich information that happens on the call that we can mine out of the call itself. So, Mike, thanks for your time today. Any final thoughts on the pay-per-call, the future of pay-per-call moving forward? It seems like it's really a growing industry with the growth of mobile search as well as the propensity of mobile searchers to call frequently. Would you agree with that in terms of the future of pay-per-call as our last subject of this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that it directly aligns with the growth in mobile, and we don't see that slowing down anytime soon. So we're pretty excited about the growth in pay-per-call and growing within that mobile marketing growth that's happening. We just see a lot of opportunity here, and we love the fact that we can connect callers directly with call centers. It feels like an ad-supported service, so we're really just making a match between the caller, potential customer, and the advertiser. And so it's something that we feel good about, and we're happy to be on this ride as it continues to grow. And here at RingPartner, we're just looking to grow month over month and year over year. And so we're excited and looking forward to the opportunity. And I should just mention, too, you've mentioned the service that Log My Calls provides, and like I said, we're going to likely make use of that tool as well. But some of the insights gained from listening to calls has been quite interesting, and it's something in the lead gen business that we never really had access to before. So it's really kind of a neat part of the business, but it also helps with the performance of the campaign. So the more you can listen to and review those calls, the better quality you're going to be able to drive to your call center, and the more efficient and cost-effective your business is going to be.
Great. Mike, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. And as I said, everybody, this recording will be emailed to you directly, and will allow you to access this at any time. If you have questions, email RingPartner or email me directly, and we'll answer those questions. So thanks again, Mike. We appreciate it. And everybody, watch for that webinar next week. As I said, it's logmycalls.com/webinar, and you can have your email marketing analyzed and critiqued by real experts. So thanks again, Mike, and thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, McKay.